I was coding at my desk when my phone buzzed with a security alert. There on my screen was a moving truck parked in the driveway of the beach house my Uncle Jack had left me just 2 months ago. The next notification showed my sister Stephanie directing movers carrying furniture inside. My own family was breaking into my house while I was at work, apparently deciding that my bachelor status meant I had no right to inherit property. Before I continue this story, let me know where you are watching from, and hit that like and subscribe button if family drama gets your blood boiling. My name is Ian, 32 years old, and I work as a software engineer at a tech company in Seattle. Most people describe me as introverted, organized, and logical. My family often considers me too serious compared to them. I have always had a passion for writing and find peace in quiet spaces near the ocean. My decision to remain single has been intentional. I value my freedom and personal space, though my family sees this as a flaw rather than a choice. Our relationship has always been strained because we have fundamentally different values about how life should be lived. My Uncle Jack was my mother's older brother, a freelance writer who never married or had children. The beach house in Cannon Beach, Oregon, had been his creative sanctuary for 30 years. Jack and I shared a special bond since I was young. He was the first person who recognized my creative potential when I was just a kid, scribbling stories in notebooks. Every summer I spent at the beach house, Jack would teach me about writing storytelling and finding inspiration in everyday moments. We had a secret promise to collaborate on a book someday, a project we never got to start. When he left the house to me in his will, his lawyer explained that Jack wanted me to continue the creative legacy of the family. Those words meant everything to me. My family consists of my mother, Anna, who is 58 and teaches high school English. She has always been overly concerned with maintaining the image of a perfect family. She constantly worries that I am not like other people and wishes I would settle down like my sister. Her relationship with her brother, Jack, was complicated, a mixture of love and jealousy over his creative freedom. My sister Stephanie is 36, a successful real estate agent with what everyone calls a perfect life, with her husband, 2 children, and suburban home. She never misses an opportunity to give me unsolicited advice about how I should live my life or to showcase her family achievements on social media. Her husband, Thomas, 38, runs his own moving company and measures everything by its monetary value. He frequently makes snide comments about my impractical lifestyle and how I should be more realistic about my future. During family gatherings, he never fails to mention property values and the wasted potential of single-family homes. Their children, Austin, 10, and Mia, 8, are sweet kids whom I love but rarely get to spend quality time with. I have heard them repeat phrases their parents must have taught them, like "Uncle Ian lives strangely" or "Uncle Ian is different." Despite this, they always enjoy the stories I tell them when we do spend time together. The beach house itself is a 2-story wooden structure with 3 bedrooms and a balcony overlooking the Pacific Ocean. It sits about 4 hours from Seattle by car in a quiet neighborhood in Cannon Beach. The market value is around $1.2 million, but its emotional value to me is priceless. Inside, Jack had created a perfect writing studio filled with first editions and rare books he had collected over his career. There is a small garden with a reading chair facing the ocean, where Jack claimed all his best ideas came to him. The house is where he wrote every one of his award-winning novels. His most treasured possession, an antique typewriter he used for his first book, still sits in the office, a symbol of his creative journey. When the lawyer read Jack's will, the tension in the room was palpable. No one expected Jack to leave the entire property to me. My mother sat silently, but her disappointed gaze spoke volumes. Stephanie immediately questioned the decision, saying, "A single person does not need that much space." Thomas, ever the businessman, started calculating the market value before the reading was even finished. "You should sell it and split the money with the family," he suggested, as if this was the obvious solution. "I can give you a fair offer right now," he added, pulling out his phone to run some numbers. Stephanie chimed in with her idea. "It should be a family vacation home that we all can use." I remained quiet, still processing my grief and unexpected inheritance. It was Tuesday, and I was deeply focused on a critical project with a rapidly approaching deadline. My concentration was broken by a text message from Mr. Jackson, my uncle's longtime neighbor. There is a moving truck parked outside your house. Did you hire someone? I was confused. I had no plans for deliveries or moving services at the beach house. Before I could respond, a notification from the security system Jack had installed appeared on my phone, motion detected at front door. I opened the app to see the camera feed and froze in disbelief. Thomas was unlocking the front door with a key I had no idea existed. A series of motion alerts followed as multiple people entered the house. I zoomed in on the truck parked in the driveway and clearly saw the logo of Thomas's moving company. Panicked, I called my mother immediately. No answer. I called Stephanie. No answer. I tried 5 more times with my mother and 3 more with Stephanie. The calls were being declined, and my text messages showed as read, but received no response. With shaking hands, I approached my supervisor and explained that I had a family emergency requiring immediate attention. She was understanding, and I gathered my things rushing out of the building. The 4-hour drive to Cannon Beach was torturous. My mind raced with questions, doubts, and a growing sense of betrayal. Had they planned this all along? How long had they been waiting to make their move? How did they get a key? The beautiful drive along the coast that normally brought me peace was now a blur of anxiety and anger. Halfway through the journey, I called Mr. Jackson for an update. They are moving a lot of stuff in, he confirmed. Looks like they are settling in. I thought you knew about this. Your sister told me it was planned when I asked. My heart sank further. They had not only invaded my property, but had also lied to the neighbors to avoid suspicion. By the time I pulled into the driveway, it was late afternoon. The sight that greeted me was beyond what I had imagined. The front yard was littered with new furniture, a large sectional sofa, a refrigerator, a massive television still in its packaging. Thomas was directing a group of men who looked to be his employees carrying heavy items inside. Through the front window, I could see Stephanie rearranging the living room, moving my uncle's reading chair to make space for her new sofa. My mother was in the kitchen wiping down countertops and organizing what appeared to be new cooking utensils. Austin and Mia were running around the yard placing homemade signs on bedroom doors that read Austin's room and Mia's room. Most disturbingly, I glimpsed movers emptying Jack's office, carrying out his bookshelves and desk to make room for what looked like a queen-sized bed and dresser. They were literally erasing his presence, his legacy from the house he had loved. When I walked through the front door, my mother looked up with feigned surprise. "Oh, you are here earlier than we expected," she exclaimed, as if I was the one showing up unannounced. "We are just helping you redecorate the house." It needed updating. Stephanie smiled brightly, walking over to hug me as if nothing was wrong. "Surprise. We decided to help you turn this place into a family space." It was looking so sad and empty. Thomas patted my shoulder firmly. "No need to thank us. This is what family does. We take care of each other." I stood in shock, unable to form words at first. Why did nobody tell me? "How did you even get in?" I finally managed to ask. Stephanie answered casually. "Mom still had the spare key from when Uncle Jack was alive. We wanted it to be a surprise. A surprise. They had broken into my home, moved in their possessions, and were redecorating without permission, and they called it a surprise." Looking around, I noticed numerous changes had already been made. New curtains hung in the living room, the bookshelves had been rearranged, and family photos I had never approved were displayed prominently on the walls. While everyone continued working, I walked to the kitchen to get water, still trying to process what was happening. On the refrigerator door, held by a new magnet, shaped like a beach umbrella, was a printed calendar titled Family Beach House Schedule. I read it with increasing disbelief. Stephanie and her family were allocated 2 weeks per month. Thomas had reserved several weekends for what was labeled business client retreats. My mother had claimed every Sunday for her book club gatherings. I was generously given 1 week per month in my own house. Next to the calendar, partially hidden behind a shopping list, was a draft contract for short-term vacation rentals during peak summer months, with Thomas listed as the property manager entitled to 30% of the income. "What is this?" I asked, holding up the schedule. "When were you planning to discuss this with me?" My mother approached, her expression softening slightly. Ian Jack would have wanted this house to serve the entire family, not just you. Stephanie joined us, adding, "It is really selfish for a single person to keep such a large space all to themselves when there are families who could use it." Thomas was more direct. "Stephanie needs this space for her family much more than you do. You are barely here anyway with your job in the city." I walked upstairs to assess the full extent of the damage, and what I discovered broke my heart all over again. Jack's office, the heart of the house where he had created his most beloved works, had been completely cleared out. The built-in bookshelves that once held his collection of first editions and research materials were now empty, with boxes labeled "Storage" stacked in the corner. The space I had planned to convert into my own writing studio, maintaining the creative energy Jack had cultivated, was now being transformed into a bedroom for Austin, with sports posters already taped to the freshly painted walls. In a cardboard box by the door, I found Jack's antique typewriter, the one he had used to write his first novel. It had been carelessly packed with a broken key and loose ribbon. Beside it lay framed photographs of Jack and me from our last summer together, removed from the walls and replaced with Stephanie's professional family portraits. Through the window, I could see Thomas on the balcony measuring the space and making notes, telling someone on the phone about plans to expand the deck for a proper BBQ area, maybe add a hot tub. In the master bedroom, my mother had already changed the curtains, rugs, and bedding, erasing Jack's personal touch and replacing it with her own beachy decor. I returned downstairs, a cold determination replacing my initial shock. The entire family had gathered in the living room, acting as if this was a normal moving day. "We have already decided," Stephanie announced when she saw my expression. "This is best for everyone," Thomas added coldly. "Do not make a big deal about this, Ian. You can keep your little apartment in Seattle. This place is too valuable to be used by just one person." I noticed a bowl of new house keys on the entry table labeled for each family member. They had not only invaded, but had made permanent arrangements to continue doing so. My mother took my silence for acceptance and added the final blow. "You have always been selfish since you were little, living only for yourself. It is time you learned to share." At that moment, there was a crash from the dining room. Mia had accidentally knocked over a glass display case containing the award Jack had received for his debut novel. The small bronze statue lay on the floor, its base separated from the figure. "It is just an old thing," Thomas said dismissively. "We will buy something new to replace it." I walked away from the argument, needing space to think clearly. I climbed the stairs back to Jack's office, drawn by some instinct to the place where he had spent his most productive hours. In the chaos of the half-emptied room, I noticed something odd about his writing desk. One drawer seemed shallower than it should be. I pulled it out completely and discovered a hidden compartment beneath something I had never known existed, despite all the summers I had spent in this house. Inside was a sealed envelope with my name written in Jack's distinctive handwriting. With trembling fingers, I opened it to find a letter dated just weeks before his death. "Dear Ian," it began, "you are the only one who truly understands the real value of this house." Jack explained that he had chosen me as his heir, not merely out of affection, but because I was the only one who would continue the creative legacy the house represented. He wrote about watching me grow as a writer, and knowing that I would honor the space in ways the rest of the family never could. Most importantly, he revealed that he had anticipated potential family conflicts and had instructed his lawyer, Harold Peterson, to prepare documentation, protecting my ownership rights against any family pressure. This is not just a house, Jack had written in his final paragraph. It is a legacy and a responsibility. Honor it by honoring yourself and the creative spirit we share. Enclosed with the letter was Harold Peterson's business card with a handwritten note, "Call if they give you trouble. All papers are prepared." A sense of resolve washed over me. This was not about property or money or even family dynamics. This was about respecting Jack's wishes and the creative sanctuary he had entrusted to me. I immediately called Peterson from Jack's office. He remembered me and confirmed what the letter had stated: I had sole and complete ownership of the property, and any entry without my permission, family or not, constituted trespassing. He advised me to document all changes and damages for potential legal action. I took photographs of every room, capturing the unauthorized modifications and the boxes of Jack's possessions that had been packed away. I called the local police department to inform them of the situation, not to press charges immediately, but to establish a record of the incident. With evidence gathered and legal advice received, I organized my thoughts around the letters Jack had written to me over the years, drawing strength from his words and clarity from his example. I asked Mr. Jackson to come over as a witness, and he readily agreed, concerned about what he had observed throughout the day. With these preparations complete, I returned downstairs to confront my family. I entered the living room with a calm determination that seemed to surprise them. I placed Jack's letter on the coffee table alongside the legal documents Peterson had emailed to me. "This is my house," I stated firmly. "You are all trespassing right now." I explained that they had 3 hours to collect their personal belongings and leave the property. I outlined the potential legal consequences if they refused to comply, making it clear this was not a negotiation. From now on, visits to this house will happen only by invitation, and with my agreement I continued. "This is not a family vacation home or an investment property. It is my home left to me by Uncle Jack for specific reasons that he outlined in this letter." The shock on their faces was evident. They had never seen me take such a firm stand before. Thomas attempted to intimidate me with legal threats of his own. Stephanie burst into tears, accusing me of tearing the family apart. My mother sat in stunned silence, her expression unreadable. Within the 3-hour deadline, Stephanie and Thomas had angrily packed their belongings, threatening lawsuits and family excommunication as they loaded the moving truck. The children were confused and upset, having already imagined summers at the beach house. As the truck pulled away, I expected my mother to follow, but she remained seated in the living room watching the chaos subside. After everyone had gone, we found ourselves alone in the suddenly quiet house. "Why did you stay?" I asked her, exhausted from the confrontation. She looked around the room, eyes lingering on the spaces where Jack's things had been. "I think I owe you a conversation," she said quietly. "I have always been jealous of what you and Jack had," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "He understood you in ways I never could. When we were growing up, he was always the creative one, the special one. Then he found that same spark in you and I felt, left out of my own family. For the first time in years, perhaps ever, I told my mother about my dreams of becoming a writer. I shared the unfinished project. Jack and I had planned a novel set in a coastal town, much like Cannon Beach. I explained how the house was not just property to me, but a connection to that creative ambition, and to the only person who had fully supported it. As I spoke, I could see my mother truly listening, perhaps for the first time seeing me as an individual rather than an extension of family expectations. "I never knew," she said simply. "You never seemed to want to share that part of yourself with me." There was truth in her words and pain, too. "I am sorry," she said, the first genuine apology I could remember receiving from her. "I should have asked. I should have seen." It was not a complete resolution, but it was a beginning. The next day I called a locksmith and had every lock in the house changed. I upgraded the security system to include additional cameras and motion sensors. I met with Harold Peterson in person to review my legal rights and drafted clear documents about property ownership and usage. There was a tense silence from Stephanie and Thomas for nearly 2 weeks. My mother returned to Seattle but called regularly, our conversations awkward, but more honest than they had been in years. That first week of truly living in the beach house as its owner was a mixture of grief, anger, and gradual healing. I carefully unpacked Jack's books and returned them to their shelves. I restored his office, adding a small desk of my own by the window where I could work while surrounded by his creative energy. I repaired the typewriter Thomas's movers had damaged and placed it in its place of honor. 13 days after the confrontation, my phone rang with Stephanie's number. Her voice was subdued, lacking its usual confident edge. She asked if we could meet somewhere neutral to talk. We agreed on a coffee shop, halfway between her home and the beach house. She arrived alone without Thomas, or the facade of perfect family harmony she usually projected. "I was wrong," she said, after we had sat in uncomfortable silence with our coffees. "I was jealous of what Jack gave you, and I convinced myself you did not deserve it." Her apology was not elegant or complete, but it was sincere. "Thomas still thinks we should have fought it legally," she admitted, but I told him it would destroy what family relationship we have left. We talked for over an hour, setting boundaries that should have been established years ago. Thomas maintained his distance but acknowledged my ownership through Stephanie. He stopped making comments about the wasted value of the property. My mother became an unexpected mediator between us all, her newfound understanding of my perspective helping bridge some of the family divides. We created new agreements about visits planned in advance, with explicit permission and with clear boundaries respected by everyone. During the summer, I invited Austin and Mia to stay for a week. Without their parents' influence, they were curious and open. I taught them about storytelling, and found Austin had inherited some of the family's creative tendencies. My mother brought her book club to the house for a weekend retreat with my blessing this time. Even Stephanie began to understand the house's spiritual value beyond its market price, especially after reading some of Jack's published works I had given her. Over the following months, I created the creative space Jack and I had once discussed. I converted the smallest bedroom into a second office where I could work remotely several days a week, allowing me to spend more time at the beach house. I joined the local literary community, finding kindred spirits who appreciated the artistic heritage the house represented. I strengthened bonds with neighbors like Mr. Jackson, who became valuable friends and supporters. For the first time in years, I felt at peace with my choices and my place in the world. The greatest lesson I learned from the entire ordeal was the vital importance of healthy boundaries. I had always avoided conflict, allowing my family to disregard my needs and choices. Standing up for myself was not selfish but necessary, not just for my own well-being, but for creating authentic relationships. I discovered that true family love must include respect and acceptance of differences, not just shared DNA or enforced togetherness. I began writing the novel Jack and I had planned, sitting at his old desk with the sound of waves in the background. The characters emerged from my experiences, transformed through fiction into something universal. Jack's legacy continued, not through the preservation of physical objects, but through living the values he had embodied: creativity, authenticity, and the courage to chart one's own course. The real legacy Uncle Jack left me was not the beach house itself, but the courage to live authentically that he had shown throughout his life. Every page I write every day, I live according to my own values, is a way I honor him. Sometimes it takes a storm for us to learn how to build stronger foundations for our lives. Have you ever had to stand up to family expectations to be true to yourself? Share your story in the comments below. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences. Remember, creating boundaries is not about pushing people away, but about teaching them how to properly come in. Thank you for listening, and may you find the courage to honor your own path, whatever that may be.